Like I said before, this is Israelo comic, where we discuss deeply concerning some issues in the Bible. Like I said earlier, today we are going to have another topic that we titled The Covenant of Spirituality. There was a covenant that first made by God between Adam and Eve and God, and which was done in Genesis 2, verse 15 to 17, which we ordinarily believe that Adam and Eve was driven out because they committed a sin against God or disobeyed God. But we in Israel comic, we are of the argument that it was not just disobedience to God that made God to chase them out of the Garden of Eden, but rather we observe that the Garden of Eden was a spiritual entity, was an environment for the spirit, for those who have purified heart, whose souls are purified. At that time, when God created Adam and Eve, the Bible made us understand that Adam and Eve was as tabula rasa. Their hearts were pure, and they were allowed to exist in that spiritual entity or environment called Garden of Eden, which we call a spiritual garden. Now, that's why God went ahead for the love he has for man, and he never wants man to lose that spirituality. Or God went ahead and gave some commandments for man, which we call those commandments were not just laws, but rather they were commandments that were made for man to sustain his spirituality, provided man will be able to abide in them or to live in accordance with these laws or these principles that God has given to man, which we call commandments. What are we saying today? That why God sends them out from that Garden of Eden was because the day Adam and Eve have a taste of that tree of the knowledge of good and bad, that tree of knowledge of good and bad was a tree of carnal knowledge, was a tree of the flesh. And the day they ate from it, they become physical and they become carnal. And that is why God has no other option than to exit them out of the Garden of Eden, because they are no more worthy. They are no longer spiritual as the environment ought to be. Therefore, God said, they are no worthy, therefore, out of the Garden of Eden. God bless.